Today in our meditation session, I want to bring to your attention, in meditation, we keep saying that we need to watch between the two thoughts. And realize our nature. Om. Chant Om. Hear the sound Om. Stop. Again, chant Om or hear the sound Om. Stop. This is what we have done. So many sessions we have conducted. I want to give you the background to this. How does Shankaracharya explain this gap between the two thoughts as our real nature? I have heard Swami Chinmayananda talking about in meditation, watch the gap between the two sounds of Om. And he says, keep looking at that gap. Keep looking at that gap. Realize what is your nature. In a text called as Laghu Vakya Vritti, I'm planning to take this at the end of chapter 10 of the Panchadasi. Before we take chapter 5, I will like to take this Laghu Vakya Vritti. It is a small work of 18 verses by Shankaracharya. Very beautiful. I recently came across this and I studied this text. And earlier I was thinking I will do the 5th chapter of Panchadasi, which is the Mahavakya portion. But then having studied this text, I felt it is important to study this text and then do the Mahavakya, because this will help us in the 5th chapter of Panchadasi. Okay, now coming to this particular aspect of the 11th verse and the 12th verse of this text. I'll be taking this text in detail after the 26 verses of the 10th chapter of Panchadasi. But here, I want to just bring out what Shankaracharya says about how to realize my pure nature in between cognitions. Cognition means whatever we perceive from the world. That means if I hear the sound, it is called as cognition. It is a vritti which comes into the mind. Any vritti which comes through the 5 sense organs is called as the cognition. Here, in this 11th verse, there is a build-up which is there in the text, but here I want to focus on the 11th verse. He says, Shankaracharya says, when the prior cognition has subsided, listen to this very carefully, because this is where if you learn the trick and understand the tip given by Shankaracharya, you can use it in meditation very beautifully. He says, when the cognition, when the last thought in your mind has subsided and another thought has not arisen, in between the two cognitions, there is the free consciousness which shines clearly. That is what is said in this 11th verse. So what happens in between the two thoughts, in between the two Oms, is our experience of consciousness. When I chant Om in my own mind, I stop. Again, chant Om. In between the two Oms, whatever is my experience in that time is Nirvikalpa Chaitanyam. Spashtam Tavad Vibhasate. Clearly it is seen. Clearly Nirvikalpa Chaitanyam. Nirvikalpa means without any change. Vikalpa. The thoughts are changing. Nashte Purvakalpe. Yavad Anyasya Nodayaha. That means the first thought has subsided. The second thought has not arisen. In between, what is there? That is your real nature. That is consciousness. In the next verse, he tells us another tip of how to know our real nature as pure being, pure awareness. What is that pure awareness? He brings it out so beautifully in this text. He says, keep watching this gap between the two thoughts or between the two Oms. How do we do that? Gradually increase the gap. First, you have one moment, one kshanam, in which there is no vikalpa. When, for example, what he is explaining here is, when we have no thoughts in our mind after the first Om, try to remain in that state. One moment first. Then try to remain 2 moments. 2 seconds. First 1 second, then 2 seconds, then 3 seconds. Try to remain. Restrain from having the second thought. And again, when you come to the second thought, again restrain. Don't start again a new thought. Try to keep your mind without any thought. And by slowly practicing this shanai shanai, that means I learn to live with my nature as pure consciousness. This is the method to understand that this nature of mine is the reality. And this is what happens when we practice this for a long time. Our own mind will get dropped and we will say, I am this gap which is experienced is the reality. And the thoughts are coming and going in this consciousness, in this awareness. So awareness is constant. The thoughts are coming and going. The thoughts are making me jiva dance up and down throughout the day. But when I learn to drop this thought as the jiva and learn to understand the consciousness, the background as the real nature, I am free. That is called as moksha. Eka, dvi, tri, shanashevam. Vikalpasya nirodhanam. Karmenabhyasyatam yatna brahma anubhava kankshibhihi. I learned to practice with effort. There is abhyasa. Abhyasa means practice. And there is an effort required, yatna, effort required, to hold on to that state of pure being. Initially, effort is required. Afterwards, you will say there's no effort because that is my real nature. And by doing these two, whatever Shankaracharya has told us to do in these two verses, we will be able to know that we are consciousness, awareness principle. I want to leave you with this thought. Go through these two verses, see the meaning, and this is the heart of the whole surgery of the mind. How do I extricate myself from the mind to consciousness? By practicing to stay at the end of a thought before the next thought arises, I am the pure being. Let that knowledge filter into your core of the being as yourself. I am that pure being. Without another thought rising, before the second thought rises, again remind yourself, I am the core being. This is what we try to do in our meditation sessions. So with this background theory, let us try to apply this theory in the practice today. Please close your eyes. Sit straight, erect, body erect. Let the feet be flat on the ground if you're sitting in a chair, not cross-legged. This way, your spine will be erect. The body is made up of the food sheath. The content of the body is the prana, pranamaya kosha. When I focus on the prana, the vision of the body goes away. Check this out. Focus on the breath. The prana is the content of Annamaya. The breath is the content of the physical gross body. Every inch of the body is filled with the prana, Shakti. The mind is the content of the prana, a subtler layer compared to the gross prana. When I focus on my emotions, I am not aware of the gross body and the prana. I am only aware of my emotions. The intellectual sheath, the Vijnanamaya, is the content of Pranamaya and Manomaya. When I am the doer, when I consider myself as the ego, there are no other emotions in my mind. I am the Karta and Bhokta as the Vijnanamaya. The intellectual sheath is also covered by Anandamaya Kosha, which is the bliss experienced in the sleep state. Beyond the 5 koshas, the 5 containers, which are one inside the other, is the Atma, the pure being. I am that pure awareness. I try to remain in the pure state. I watch thoughts rising in my mind. One thought rises, it resolves, followed by another thought. But as witness, pure being, I abide in my nature. Shankaracharya gives me a method to abide. I'm going to practice that method now. I will chant in my mind, Om. And I will stop. For 1, 2, 3 seconds. Again, mentally, I will chant Om. A cognition happens in the mind. I will stop for 1, 2, 3 moments. Again, I practice Om. I will not give any instructions for the next 1 minute. Try to chant Om, stop. Again, chant Om, stop. Om. 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 Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachade Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnamevavasishyade. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Once again, I become aware of the breath in the body. And become aware of this body, the physical gross body. I have learned how to abide in myself, the pure Atma. Gently open your eyes.